voters going from the Democratic Party to Trump, it isn't because they're going from Democratic Party to Republican Party. Who the heck would do that? Who the heck would do that? Not even I did that. When I was a Democrat, and I was a Democrat all my youth, when I woke up and I went to school and I learned financial economics and I learned foreign affairs, how to deal with certain Israeli topics, how to deal with certain Middle Eastern topics, how to deal with certain Muslim topics, how to deal with Korea topic, how to deal with South American topics. Once you learn, you don't stay in the same boat that you were in before. If you learned new things, you're always going to adapt. And I did that. And I'm sure you did that too. You were a libertarian for a while, right? Weren't you ever a different party than the Republican Party?
I've been three parties, and currently I'm registered with the American Independent Party.
You don't even know your party? Come on,
That's
man.
the thing. No, American
James
Independent. Well, I don't register Republican or Democrat because at least I haven't in a long time, because I don't like labeling myself either, because I don't support really. Like, if Tulsi was like the nominee, I would have registered Democrat. If Rand Paul was the nominee, or Ron Paul even like longer ago, I would have registered Republican. But
what about Bernie Sanders?
I don't think I would have, because he's a little too far left leaning for me.
How so?
He tends to want higher taxes, and that's kind of one of his deep philosophies, is like, we need to tax the rich more, tax. I'm not really a big fan of taxes, because I don't think it's that the government has enough money. I just think it's the government is irresponsible with its spending. And I don't like the concept of taking more money from the American people if the government isn't gonna do better with our money. So that's why I wouldn't register for Bernie.
Well, I mean, yeah. I respect that. I think that his stance on Israel in foreign policy was the one thing that was going to push me into his corner, because no other candidate has like I said earlier, the huevos to stand up to the Israeli AIPAC machine, dude. And it's not just the machine isn't just them. It's the media actually works for them. So if you're going to be going against Israel, you're going to be going against our media, you're going to be going against our banks, you're going to be going against our Wall Street, you're going to be going against our military industrial complex, all when you go against Israel. And Bernie Sanders was willing to do that. And he still had such a large following. So I compared him to the opposite end of Ron Paul. Obviously not fiscally, but on foreign policy, absolutely. On Tulsi Gabbard's foreign policy, absolutely. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of people complain about single issue voters, and taxes is considered very important, yes. But when it comes to, if you're talking about spending being a thing that you're worried about, I think foreign policy, if it's in between foreign policy and taxes, and you have a good candidate, I would say go for the candidate that will offer you a reform in foreign policy, because in that reform, you'll also bring money back to the country, right, and lives back to the country, and ingenuity back to the country. Instead of having the soldiers out there, they're going to be here, and R&D. They're going to be working in the private sector. They're going to be, there's a lot that could be done if our foreign policy was regulated. And Trump did it, dude. He did it. He did everything that he said he was going to do. Everything that I've been like begging our politicians to do for years, at least when I was young enough to call our representatives every single weekend about things, which is what everybody should be doing. Mm-hmm. Going to legeinfo.ca.gov so that you can find out all the bills in the Assembly and the Senate in our Sacramento local state government. Going to govtrack.us, which is going to give you all of the bills that have to do with every single federal legislation. I mean, when I was going through all this stuff, the one thing I got so frustrated about is that nobody would listen. And now finally we have a politician, not just a politician, man, a president. A president, dude, who check mark illegal immigration, check mark the big banks, check mark military industrial complex, check mark the media, check literally, bro, check mark China. Where do you think 5G came from? Where do you think coronavirus came from? Where do you think the masks came from? Where do you
Yeah,
think Big Brother came from? Where do you think all of this shit came from? From China. It's
yeah.
like our piece of shit politicians are emulating the Chinese for some weird reason.
So you mentioned China, and China is one of my big concerns too. Like my two big concerns are obviously international peace and also China. China, especially considering Joe Biden and the connections Hunter has to China, that's a big concern. Um, but something I do just want to kind of take a moment to discuss is the mass media and how people are obsessed with, like, they are the arbiters of all the truth, and that's there's an absurdity to that because um like, for example, a lot of people on the left are saying like, oh, there's no way our system has been corrupted. Meanwhile, they've been spending the past 4 years saying that Trump was elected in 2016 due to Russian collusion, and there's way less evidence for that than the actual shady stuff that happened this election in Michigan and Wisconsin, and there's a lot of other shady stuff that happened in Pennsylvania, which we can unpack. But I don't know. We're not quite there yet. I just want to establish that the nominee has not been solidified. We find out um, after there's a lot of court proceedings that has to happen between now and what is it, January was 2nd? The president is officially sworn in. One of these sworn in.
Oh.
Yeah. And for example, in 2000, Bush versus Gore, when Bush got elected, Gore won the Electoral College, and with this election, it was super duper close. I'll just share this real quick, just because today the mass media has announced Joe Biden is the winner, but the mass media doesn't decide who wins elections. The court system, as of right now, is deciding.
Yeah, who the hell does the media think they are? They can just like come out and say, this morning I was listening to Trump talk about how the polls are all a suppression because all they do is discourage voters to vote for particular candidates. Man, Tyler, what? We've been saying this since 2012, dude. Since 2011, when Ron Paul was killing it in every single online poll.
Yep.
And then they're all run by fraudsters, dude. And their purpose is to sway elections. Their whole purpose is to sway elections by dangling a fake number in front of the masses and say, this is what all your neighbors are voting for. This guy, not this guy, this guy. Everyone's voting for him, not him. Like, what the this is what we've been saying. And so now Trump is finally saying, this is what they're doing to me because they don't want me to win again. They learned their lesson in 2016. They didn't have enough fraud in 2016. So this year, they stepped up the fraud one more by hiring USPS workers off the cuff, by hiring taxi drivers from Muslim countries off the cuff, from hiring young kids to go and collect a bunch of ballots from senior citizen homes. Literally, man, it's like they knew that in the last 4 years, all of their lies were towards Trump, the Russia collusion, Kavanaugh, all of these guys. And now they're just like, yeah, since we know we can get away with it, we're just going to step up another 4 million fake votes.
Right. And Biden himself I think what hopefully will become his most famous gaffe, said we have the largest voter fraud organization in election history.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
But the point being is that, you know, Biden has had a lot of gaffes, and I don't think that was one of them. I think he just doesn't. He just is at that this confident point as to where he knows he's Joseph Stalin. He knows he's counting. He has the famous Stalin quote that he who wins isn't the one who has the most votes. He who wins is the one who counts the votes. And yeah, something just to share really quick too, because this I think is super important, because we all know what happened in Wisconsin and Michigan. People are saying it was just a glitch, but this, for example, speaking of the glitch, I found this post while everyone was asleep and after everyone went home. Democrats in Michigan magically found a trove of over 138,000 votes for both states that magically went up for Biden. I saw, I mean, we all saw the logarithmic graph where everything just magically went up. And
okay, yeah. So I wanted to pick your brain about that. So that increase, could it have possibly been? Wait, were those mail-in votes that increased that vertical line, or was it people in line, physical?
No, it was the counting. I mean, it may have been mail-in votes, but apparently,
see, that's the question. Now think about it. No, think about it. That's really the question. Was it mail-in votes that escalated that vertical increase, or was it in person? Because hold on, if it was mail-in, that's where the voter fraud is. If it was in person, that could be due to a group of union companies that all got together and say, well, let's all go vote together. Because that's when I was student body president at Pierce College many years ago. I literally had my entire automotive department, because I was like a friend with everybody there, and it was like 4 classes that we all worked on cars together in the automotive department. And so the head of the department there told me, go run for president and bring us some more funding, Christian, and we'll hook you up. Like, okay, cool. So I ran for whatever. I won. I was like, oh, this was easy. I ran. I won. And then, but when I won, it wasn't just due to like pretty hair or just speeches or something like that. It was due to me walking over on election day over to my automotive department and saying, yo, we're voting. Come on. And they actually took pictures of me and put in the newspaper. I'm walking down the Pierce College walkway with like 400 people behind me.
Right. It's not hard to organize.
It was awesome. I just put them all right down over there, and they're just like, all right, cool. And they were just all with tools in their hands, walking with grease, and they're all, where do I sign? It was the coolest thing. But it was legal. It wasn't nothing. And so that's kind of where I'm hoping, if that was the vertical increase was due to any kind of fraud, that it was due to that mail and stuff, because that's where Trump has been talking about. So it'll give him clout. It'll give him some kind of backing as to what he's been saying, and it'll give the investigators somewhere to look.
So you asked the question, what was the reason for the jump? The Democratic Party has even acknowledged this. According to the poll watchers, no, not the poll watchers, the people in charge of getting those ballots ingested, there was a technical glitch in Michigan which caused the jump. And they addressed that technical glitch, which actually led to a Democratic candidate in a county in Michigan getting flipped to a Republican candidate for a county in Michigan, thanks to them addressing this technical glitch.
What?
Yes.
That actually changed the vote?
It changed a winner of a county from Democrat to Republican. from them addressing the glitch. I don't know if it went, that was 135,000 magically went away. I don't think so. But here's the other thing to really look at here. The election software system in Michigan that switched the 6,000 votes from Trump to Biden is called Dominion. That's one of the election counting things. It's used in 30 states, including Nevada, Arizona, Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin,
Oh my
Georgia,
God.
and Pennsylvania. Every single major swing state that we're seeing with issues right now
Can we verify that? Can we fact check that?
I looked into it a bit. I did see that all those states that we're having issues with right now, I looked specifically for Pennsylvania because they had the issues. And they also had the whole issue too, where they were telling the watchers you had to be 100 feet away, and they had literally people with binoculars watching to see if people were doing things correctly. And actually, I have a little clip I'm going to show there too.
My name is Brian McCaffrey. I'm a registered Democrat in the city of Philadelphia. Today, I'm at the Philadelphia Convention Center, and I am overseeing the ballot counters. I will let you know the corruption that is going on here. They will not allow us within 30 to 100 feet to supervise the ballots being counted. This is a coup against the President of the United States of America, and I want to call out the Mayor of Philadelphia, James Kenney, the Attorney General, Josh Shapiro, who tweeted that there's no way Donald Trump can win President of the United States of America, and also the District Attorney of Philadelphia, Larry Krasner. I can't believe what I'm seeing right before my eyes. This has nothing to do with Joe Biden or Donald Trump. This has to do with our democracy, and I will tell you, there is corruption at the highest level in the city of Philadelphia.
That's messed up.
So guess what?
I have no idea what.
So according to the World Tribune, I guess it's a English-based newspaper, so it's not in our country. Dominion, which is a Denver-based company, their Democracy Suite 5.5 software, which is what it's called, it was used in 69 counties, and it is directly tied to the Clinton Foundation.
What? Wow. So it's they learned from 2016, and then they ramped up this software. Oh my gosh.
Yep. So that's what I was saying earlier, man. It's all Clinton, that stupid withering hag. Bleep, 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 bleep.
One of my favorite things about Amy Coney Barrett's nomination is she was not swearing in, is she was sworn in on Hillary Clinton's birthday. And I think that's Donald Trump's doing, honestly. What drives me so nuts about this whole election is how people are just parroting the media. People on the left who are so much like, it's over, dry your tears, Trump supporters. It's like, no, you don't know. And I actually had one guy in social media who I don't even know, is some form or whatever, said, don't pretend to know what you're talking about politics just because you don't support Trump or Biden. And it's like, dude, that's a sign I know more about politics than you do.
Right.
And I was like, where's your citation for any sort of evidence for any lack of corruption? And he was like giving me Trump tweets, and I'm like, okay, here's the Associated Press explaining those tweets. It's just like,
look, I'm a little worried because I was watching this earlier on YouTube. I'm sorry, not on YouTube, on MSNBC. This morning it was aired, and Chuck Todd, Savannah Guthrie, and Lester Holt were all analyzing and picking apart the win, quote unquote, by Biden. Right. He's actually not intelligent, dude. I saw videos when he was younger in Congress. He was horrible. But anyways, my point is that the compensating that Joe Biden is doing by and Hillary Clinton, and you can see it in this election, how Hillary Clinton is trying to compensate for her loss in 2016 by totally from her stupid little cottage in West Maine, wherever the heck she lives, behind her little computer criticizing our president. And he's done more in 3 years for the American people that she's done, or her husband has done, or Joe Biden has done. I was going to say Joe Bison. Or Kamala Harris. Man, who the hell is Kamala Harris, by the way? Who the hell is she, dude? No. What I mean is, like, she kind of pulled an Obama where she came in out of nowhere, but at least Obama had charisma and energy and support, and oh God, he didn't have that cringe effect.
He said because the president wanted people to remain calm.
Well, let's get
but Susan, this is important.
Susan,
I want to
have
add,
to
but
weigh in here.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
I have to
I'm
weigh
speaking.
in.
Yeah,
Let's talk about packing the court then. Let's talk about the
Please.
fact. Yeah, I'm about to. $400,000
He said he's
a
going to
year.
repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, wait,
I'm speaking.
it'd be important if you said the truth.
If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then
Please.
have a conversation, okay?
Please.
Okay.
Not only does she have that, but she also is a prosecutor of people who just were smoking weed in California. She was attacking Joe Biden, who is her running mate. She was attacking him for being racist, and now they're buddies. Now they're cozy. Come on, man. She doesn't have any foreign policy experience at all. That would scare the crap out of me for her to be the final vote in the Senate, man. I mean, the 48-48, the 49-49 split that we're seeing right now. Right now, the elections, I think the Senate is 48-48. So I'm a little worried, because if it becomes 49-49, she's going to be the defining vote.
And of course, she's going to want to make herself president, because Joe Biden's not going to make it 4 years.
That's the other thing. Thank you for bringing that up, Tyler. In 4 years, they just basically set her on a path to presidency.
Well, Joe Biden at 4 years from now is going to be 82, and he's already clearly in decline.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether he's old in 4 years or not. In 4 years, or in 8 years, or in 16 years, or in 12 years, she's going to eventually run for president, because she's going to be able to say, I had the experience as vice president to know how the White House works.
Which is
right?
Yeah.
I mean, so basically and it's so hilarious, because they actually had good candidates. The Democrat Party had good candidates.
Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard, Andrew Yang,
Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard. They also had a couple in the beginning of the year. During the primaries that were really good. One who was what was his name? Chop from North Dakota or something like that. North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, I think that's a really important thing to establish is people, the general public, don't really pay attention to primaries. And that's how we keep ending up stuck with these terrible candidates every 4 years for president. The Democratic and the Republican Party have both been responsible for shady business, which gets people like Joe Biden and go back to Mitt Romney as the presidential nominees. And then people are surprised when we end up with the likes of Joe Biden as potentially president when all this shakes out. Then they wonder, why is it the United States is having all these issues? Well, you guys just potentially voted in the guy who wrote the 94 crime bill, who put more people in jail than black people in jail than any other modern piece of legislation.
Hey, let's forget about that. That's the talking point that Trump has used because of racial cards, and he's just battling race versus race. Okay,
if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
But that's a stupid argument, man. He's got way worse track records than that. Look at his stance with the pharmaceutical companies. Look at his stance with the big banks. Look at his stance with the credit card companies.
Iraq war, yeah.
Look at his stance with the Iraq war. Those are all major policies that I actually give a shit about, and that the majority of the people give a shit about. But right now, because of racial politics, after George Floyd, the only reason that happened, because the Democrat Party knew that using race against the Republicans would work. The majority, in fact, of Black Lives Matter people who are out there destroying property are white people.
Yeah, you're not wrong. There's a lot of videos of people like, I don't know if this one's been around, but someone's spray
Ridiculous.
painting, yeah, the Starbucks, and then the black people come up to the white person like, "Why are you vandalizing that Starbucks?" And then they're like, "Oh, I'm helping you." Like, oh, this brings me up to a great quote I've been wanting to pull the trigger on.
Idiot.
Malcolm X said the greatest danger to the black man is the white liberal. Malcolm X said that.
The white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game.
I think there are many whites who act friendly toward Negroes. A fox acts friendly toward the lamb. And usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb chop on his plate. The wolf doesn't act friendly, and therefore the wolf has more difficulty in getting the lamb chop in his plate.
I'd like to point out, though, that...
And I say that because it is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf.
Look, okay, so going back to Biden, this is what I don't understand, is that look, I understand why the elites are doing it. I understand why. That's the answer that a lot of people say, I don't know why are they doing this to the American people? I know why. We both know why. I think a lot of our viewers know why. I think anybody who knows this knows why. Because Biden and Kamala Harris represent the powers of the powerful interests, the powers that be, behind all the major lobby groups, the military, pharmaceuticals, the banks, the credit card companies, and the how do we put it, the Mexican and Chinese governments. Let's just put it frankly.
NAFTA.
I mean, the Mexican Chinese governments work very closely with the Democrat Party. The Mexican government works very closely with the Democrat Party. I'm going to say it again because a lot of people don't understand this and they can't wrap their brain around it, like, because they're two big things, Mexican government and Democrat Party. They're like, wait, what? Say it again. The Democrat Party works very closely with the Mexican government. The Democrat Party also works very closely with the Chinese government. The Democrat Party works very closely with the Hollywood and media industry, very closely with them. Because not only do we see CNN, MSNBC, Disney, ABC, CBS, all of the other non-Fox entities on the Democrat ticket, essentially. I mean, doing all of their bidding for them. And Fox is the only one that goes with the Republican side. But even in film, even in TV shows, I mean, it's very rare to see a show like Last Man Standing survive that long with Tim Allen because it was a Republican-centered character.
That was canceled.
It's very hard to see Roseanne Barr also survive canceled. Any kind of backlash.
Also canceled. Last Man Standing was canceled when it was one of the most watched shows on television. And then it was only picked up when it was sold to ABC. I believe it went from Fox to ABC and is part of that whole Disney acquisition. So for 2 years, Last Man Standing wasn't on the air because of some politics. Probably is around the same time Roseanne got canceled for having a Valium-induced Twitter rant. But yeah, it's fascinating. Like you were saying that mass media and everything, all these celebrities were like at Biden rallies and everything. And even these big celebrities like Lady Gaga couldn't draw a crowd of more than 100 people. And
well, see, no, look, my point wasn't just to vent about like that there's an unfairness in these groups. My point is to actually connect the dots between these groups and show people that the Democrat Party is a big conglomerate of corrupt business entities,
Yeah, you're not wrong.
all selfishly fighting for their own interests. I mean, not interests, money. I mean, money and power. Screw interests. They're fighting for money and power. The
Well-
Democrats want power. That's it. That's why they've been attacking Trump. For how many years did the Democrat Party claim an anti-war stance? How many years?
Right.
I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. I joined the Democrat Party because I was against the Iraq War. So I always thought to myself, Democrat, anti-war, Republican, war. Democrat, good, Republican, bad. Dude. No. George Bush fooled a lot of us because he wasn't a Republican. That's the thing. He was a neocon. He was a
Right.
wolf in clothing. Well, Dick Cheney was the wolf inside Bush's ass, I guess, if you want to call it that. My point is I joined the Democrat Party thinking that they were anti-war, that they had morals, that they had a stance, that they had some kind of moral high ground, but they don't. Because in this last 4 years, they have attacked the only anti-war president that we have had since
Jimmy
what,
Carter.
John F. Kennedy?
Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, but even Jimmy Carter entered Iran. So no. I mean,
well, definitely
even
Kennedy.
he was involved on the foreign field, you know, whether it was outlandish or whether it was behind the doors. Trump isn't even behind the doors, man. He's not even behind the curtains about it.
Right.
He just doesn't want war. He doesn't want our soldiers out there. He wants them all here at home.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying earlier is that, look, we all know the two questions of the dichotomy. Why are the bad guys in the government doing this, and what do we do about it? Well, a lot of people don't know how to answer either of the two. I know how to answer the first one. Why are they doing it? They're doing it for money and power. The how to fix it is very simple. The media needs to be regulated.
Article 230.
They have already they have grown into an entity that is much more powerful than our founding fathers would have imagined because of technology.
Right.
When the founding fathers wrote the founding documents, they didn't imagine 5G internet. How the heck could they imagine something like that?
Right.
Maybe the Aztecs imagined it. Maybe Nikola Tesla imagined it.
Right.
But our founding fathers didn't imagine 5G. Okay. So when they wrote the Constitution, they didn't think about how to protect us from technological government intrusion.
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
There's no way to regulate it.
Yeah.
So the media is now taken over with the technology, and there's nothing we can do about it, because when we criticize them, we're bad guys. When we don't criticize them, they take advantage of us. In the end, it's a lose-lose battle against the media. So now we've started with YouTube. Now we've started with these other organizations, and now YouTube, under the reins of this new YouTube master, they're regulating everything that we say. So even in their algorithms that are set up, I can't type her name in YouTube in any video. I've tried it. I've texted it. I've tested it. Her name spelled, that's why I'm not saying it. Her name spelled fully. You can't spell her name on any YouTube comment boards.
Wow.
They'll immediately, in 17 seconds, your comment will be deleted.
Wow.
I already timed it all. On other algorithms, if you use bad words, they remove it in 9 seconds.
Yeah. I see you've been researching algorithms.
On ones, oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. On another one where if it's a long rant, and I forgot which one it was, I did something in the comment and it was removed after 23 seconds. Oh, it was a copy of another comment. There you go. It was a copy. It was just like a duplicate comment, and that one was removed in 23 seconds. Yeah, I got it down. These people are crooked, man. These people are crooked, dude. They're manipulating the crap out of the people and 70 million people fell for it this election by voting for Biden.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be that high because we don't know how far
Oh yeah, he probably got only 60 million, probably 60 million,
and
because not even Obama got more than 60 million. Yeah, I think he got 69 million.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense as to why the guy who couldn't get more than 100 people in a crowd for 3 months,
right?
The most amount of votes ever. It just doesn't make sense.
Right?
Yeah, they couldn't even fill a Zoom call. They were like in editing, like copying and pasting Zoom people in their digital.
What is it about him that the common idiot would fall for? Like I keep trying to think like back to when I was an idiot back in my younger days. Like by looking at like a man like that, I kind of like I think to myself, let's see, I'm gonna pretend to be a dumb 18-year-old new voter.
Right.
Joe Biden. Oh.
Not Trump.
He's an old stupid old man like my grandpa. Aw, he's not gonna start war. He's too old. People, he's too old. He's not gonna start war. He's too old. He's not gonna steal from me. That racist thing he said, that can't be. That must have been edited because he's too old and he looks like my grandpa.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
That must be why I should vote for him. Trump, he's loud. He's old too. But he's loud. He's not like my grandpa. Yeah. So I'm gonna vote for the old, stupid, old senile grandpa instead. That's what 50 million people voted for.
There's two lies that the media, well, one lie the media always does for our presidential candidate, and then the second one was this election. But one lie they always tell us is he has 50 years of experience in office. He must be very fit to be president because he has all this experience. And Trump's defense for that was genius in the last debate. It's like, okay, it's been 47 years, Joe. All this stuff you're presenting now, why haven't you done it then? Especially when you were in office as VP for 8 years and didn't do anything. And then the second thing, the lie they repeated over and over and over again is the 230,000 deaths are entirely because of Trump for this virus. Yeah, and actually in March of this year, or maybe February, Dr. Birx said, even if we did everything perfect, we're still going to have at least 200,000 deaths in this country. So there's evidence as to why Trump actually did a comparatively good job. And it's just this lie that Joe Biden has been telling in this campaign, the only one I think stuck for his voters, where I'm going to save you from this virus. I have the ideas. And we ask him, what are your ideas? I have them. And he just doesn't tell us what he's going to do other than we're going to lock back down. We're going to put your masks back on and it's going to save you from this virus.
I don't think Joe Biden is running his election. I think the media is running the election for him.
Yeah, to protect the American voter from actually seeing how incapable he actually is, because he can't even remember.
No. It's beyond that, brother. It's beyond that. It's the media picked him to be the president. The media picked Kamala Harris to be the vice president. They were shoving Kamala Harris down our throats last year in March and April. She dropped out because they were raising her to be the next progressive leader. Right. But it didn't work out. People saw through that, and they
Tulsi Gabbard.
They regurgitated her out.
Right.
Except for Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders and Warren.
Right.
But my point is, going back, is that when the voters spit this old idiot out, Kamala Harris, the media said, we're going to give the voters some time, some breathing space, and then we're going to pluck her back in and shove her down their throats. We're going to shove her down their throats in like a couple more months.
I think if there's one thing we learned tonight, it's that America needs a woman as president.
that's what they did. They waited. It's just like the boiling frog mentality. You keep a frog in boiling in water, in cool and warm water, and you boil it. Gradually, the frog will not realize that he's being boiled alive. The same shit happened to the Democrat voters this year. They pulled the rug out from underneath all the Democrat voters, and it makes me sad because I have a lot of Democrat friends, and I was actually working for Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat. I was working for her campaign. So I saw that it was unfair because a lot of Democrats. The thing is, though, this is the debate. Is it unfair to be taken advantage of time and time again, or does it become your fault to a certain point after some time? I know I can't say that a new generation of voters could be blamed for a generation of voters 8 years ago or 16 years ago. I know that because the new generation of voters that never voted before, it's not their fault. However, are we allowed to be okay? Or I should say, are we allowed to be mad at the Democrats for continuously making the wrong decisions over and over again? I mean, in the middle of summer of 2019, they had the chance to spit Kamala Harris out for good.
Right.
And they didn't take that bait. They brought her back in because they fell for the media hype and bullshit all over again. This time around, because of help with the virus, this time around because of help with George Floyd, this time around with the help of Joe Biden and all of his puppet masters with the strings telling him what to do. I really think that I feel like I want to be mad at the Democrats, but I also feel so bad for them because they didn't wake up. I woke up, you know, I woke up. I'm a Latino, you know, I was raised thinking, you know, and even my father, who's not Latino, he's Italian, even he's a Democrat. I was raised thinking Democrat all the way. My whole family almost Democrat all the way, except for my grandma and a couple of my uncles and me. We're the only conservatives and my cousin. We're the only conservatives in the whole family.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I learned, but these idiots, they don't learn. It's like they're the fish in the pond that keeps biting the bait and keeps being pulled into the boat, and the fisherman keeps throwing back out, and the idiot fish keeps biting the same bait over and over again, bro. Like that. There should be a meme for that, dude. The Democrats are just stupid fish biting the same bite each election.
Right. Yeah. Every
I'm gonna write
year
that down.
that's good, man. Every year they just put up with ever since Obama left office. I mean, somehow they presented Hillary Clinton, who is at the time the most right-leaning Democrat humanly possible. The more Wangerist, I remember in 2015 or 2016, in the debates, Hillary Clinton said she was going to shoot down Russian planes if they fly over Syria. And anyone with any sort of geopolitical knowledge knows that would have led to World War III, because Russian airspace is Syria. So if you're going to shoot down,
the thing is, she doesn't care. She doesn't care. They don't care, bro. That's disconnect. A lot of people, a lot of people know what would happen. The thing is, they don't give a. They look at what the Democrats did to us this year, the American people, and me. I'm literally next week, if they're still having the school board meetings, I'm going to the school board next week to yell the out of them, because I can't believe what I heard this morning, that McCarthy said that in Los Angeles, they're keeping the schools closed because the administrators came out and said they're waiting for the election.
That not only did that happen, but also the lady who looks like Beetlejuice, who is in charge of the Santa Clara County. Oh, not Santa Clara. That's my county. Your county. Los Angeles County Health. Off camera, but her mic was still on. Said, when asked when her school's coming back, she said, after the election.
We don't realistically anticipate that we would be moving to either Tier 2 or to reopening K through 12 schools at least until after the election, after in early November.
So that's consistent with what your county. Yeah. Yeah, so that's consistent with your county is they're saying after the election. And I feel like every county in California is doing the whole wait until early next year thing anyways. But I think
but for them to use those semantics in such a cavalier way,
nonchalant, yeah.
While I'm like suffering, not working as much because I have to take care of my son all day now that he's home.
Right.
Those are making me lose money because they want to win an election, that and so that the unions can make money while the teachers are off are out of the classroom but getting paid federal emergency pay.
Yeah, the unions.
Because it's considered during the pandemic. They're
Right.
getting federal emergency pay while getting their basic salary, regular salary, while also at the same time paying their membership dues for their unions so that the unions get paid. All of these are all in cahoots. They're like, yeah, let's keep the schools closed. Less teachers in the classroom, the less stress for our union representatives to have to deal with angry teachers. The money is still going to be coming in for our union fees, and we're still going to be getting paid. The teachers are still going to be getting paid. They're going to be getting paid even more now because of the federal emergency pay. And we're not going to have to do that much work because the teachers are actually comfortable and relaxing at home. Boom, everyone's happy except for the kids and their parents because we're going to make them suffer so we can make money and we can be lazy at home. That's what I'm going to go to the district and I'm going to, those assholes. Ooh, man, I'm mad, dude. Because I didn't know that. I just heard that this morning. And it was not even our congressman who said that. It was another congressman from another district, thank God, Republican, who advised me of that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known about that.
Well, not only that, but that Beetlejuice lady from the Los Angeles County who's in charge of the health, who's responsible for the lockdowns, is the same lady who said no trick-or-treating this year in Los Angeles, who backtracked on that. No one elected her. She's not an elected official. She's just someone the people in power put in power to make all these decisions for all these counties across California, and it's causing all these issues. I can totally relate to a lot of what you're dealing with, because I live in one of the strictest shutdown counties. Actually, Santa Clara County, where I'm living now, shut down a week ahead of the rest of the state of California. So Santa Clara County, as well as other Bay Area counties, including San Francisco County, have been locked down the longest and literally have not ended their lockdown. And we're getting praises. Dr. Fauci was on a Zoom call with our county health official 2 days ago, and he was singing our praises. But people aren't talking about the amount of jobs lost. San Francisco lost 49% of their small businesses since the beginning of the lockdowns, and that's the highest amount of any major city in this country. And we're seeing this mass exodus from these big cities, and why these big cities are saying, cancel police funding is they need to stay afloat, and it's really, really not good for our economic health. And like you said, people can't work because of kids not being in school. That's one major factor too. It's a mess. It's a mess, and it's why I think why I'm most surprised Joe Biden has gotten so many votes, and why I think this will go all the way to January with court battles, because of the lockdowns. That is the number one issue, I think, of this election. And I think more people care about going to work than people. I think more people have woken up to the ridiculousness of this virus since the fall has started than people who've feared the virus.
When is anybody going to pick the pink the elephant out of the room? As they say. What's the saying? How did the saying go? Who's going to call the elephant
out
for who they are? Yeah, who's going to call the elephant in the room? That's what I don't understand. The elephant in the room being, and that's what actually forced a lot of people to vote against Trump, even though it wasn't anything to do with him. It was China.
China.
It came from China. No, I mean the fact that it came. I mean, China single-handedly helped kick President Trump out of office.
Right. Yeah. So if we want to talk about the lockdowns more, I could jump right into China if you want to go there. Just to introduce the lockdowns, how this whole thing started was we were told that we're going to close down for a few weeks so we can flatten the curve. And now here we are, have been closed now for 9 months. And that was somewhat of a lie, we were told, that no one really seems to be paying attention to. And regarding China, the yuan is crashing right now. And I think this was their big play to level the global economic field by making the rest of the world go on lockdown. Because nothing hurts an economy more than the inability for it to function. And China has this virus figured out. I'm gonna screen share that. So we all remember this virus came from Wuhan. In fact, one of its many nicknames is the Wuhan virus. This is Wuhan right now, or not right now. This is Wuhan in like September, but wall to wall, shoulder to shoulder in a water park, a huge concert going on, ginormous crowds of people, not even phased, no masks or anything here. Somehow, like this is the source of where the virus came from, and they're able to do these rock concerts. Like, does that make any sense? So I think what
It makes sense. I mean, it does make sense.
Okay.
It makes sense. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. It's all contrived. It's all man-made, and it's all a political weapon towards us, the American people, and Trump, because Trump was finally closing the borders with Mexico and China, which is what he's been needing to do, what we've been needing to do for quite some time. He was finally reining in the military-industrial complex, which is what we've been really needing to do for quite some time. He was finally, through the military-industrial complex, also kind of regulating Israel, because by regulating the military-industrial complex, you're regulating Israel. And so those are three huge heads of the King Ghidorah monster that Trump has been battling. And all three are aided and abetted by the media.
I love that.
All three. So you can do a pretty good graphic in seeing how China, Mexico, and Israel are all in cahoots, not directly in cahoots, but all with the same end game, with the same game plan in tearing apart our country. And the way to do it is with stupid Americans in the Democrat Party who fall for the media bullshit. So the media is the gun. No. The media is the bullet.
Right.
The nation states are the gun, and the American people are the target.
Yeah.
It's all being triggered by these nation states who literally don't like us, man. And I can't believe that people are that stupid in this country. Okay, so what I was saying about this morning, about the stupidity of the people in this country and the Democrat Party, is that Savannah Guthrie, Chuck Todd, whatever the heck that stupid mouse's name is, and Lester Holt, who actually I somewhat respect, they were all talking about, the rallies and the celebrations happening today because Trump was kicked out of office, supposedly, apparently, according to them, not to us, because we haven't heard the final numbers yet. And after the investigation, we'll know the final numbers. Not until then will we know anything. None of these numbers make sense. But anyways, when Chuck Todd was pointing out this rally in front of the White House, Savannah Guthrie said, "Oh, that's in front of the White House," and there was a large, gigantic flag pointed right in front of the rally towards the White House, upside down. And I was thinking to myself, if these idiots actually cared about our country, rather than them fixing it, they're not just attacking our president, not just attacking our progress that we've made in the last 3 years, financially, economically, and on the world stage, because we're not taking it from anybody anymore. But instead of them recognizing the good that this president has done, they are instigating hatred towards our country. An upside down flag doesn't necessarily represent hatred. It represents our country being in a state of turmoil or in a state of panic or needing help.
Yeah.
But for them to put the flag outside of the White House like that, after everything that he's done helping the American people, it goes so it's like so contradictory, because my point is that instead of Americans on the other end wanting to improve our way of life, they're finding things to complain about, such as racism, such as the laws that Donald Trump has passed against abortion. Instead of them focusing on these single issues, they need to see the whole collective picture. And until they do, Democrats are going to keep voting the same way every year. The thing is, I'm glad that this happened, because in the next couple elections, Republicans are going to be a lot more stronger.
I hope so.
There's no hope. I know it. I mean, look how we're going to be mad after this election. You'll see. We're going to be mad.
I know we're going to be mad. But something that could still happen is the court findings find that there was fraud and Trump will still be president. That's still entirely possible. I know.
That would be.
There's going to be chaos if that happened, though. And because we know somehow there have been riots for 6 months in Portland. And I don't know if you knew this, but there was a riot on election night in Portland. And then they were waving a sign that said, "We're not going to stop even after Biden's elected." And that night, the Portland mayor says, "Okay, National Guard, come on in. They've gone too far." And the 6 months of riots finally ended once Biden was the presumed elected president.
You know what that sounds like to me? It sounds like what during the Iran-Contra deal, what Ronald Reagan did. Do you remember that? That he said, "Don't."
Panama?
No, he did secret negotiations with Iran behind closed doors to let them to ask them not to release the hostages until the day he was elected. You didn't hear about this? This is huge, man.
I did hear about this. Yeah, I do remember.
And so it sounds very familiar. And what do they say? History repeats itself, dude. Everything that has happened in the last 15 to 20 years has repeated itself. Even 9/11. Do you know that 9/11, that date, is notorious in American history for many reasons?
I don't. Why? Do you have some example?
Just one personal example that I can give you is that Henry Kissinger on 9/11 in 1970 convinced Richard Nixon to invade Chile with the CIA. And that implemented a 20-year struggle behind a dictator that we implanted in my mom's home country.
Yeah.
Which killed 500,000 people.
Right.
Easily.
Right.
Secretly in death camps that took place in schools, in auditoriums, in sports coliseums, that my mother bared witness with her own eyes, torturing musicians in front of audiences. Bro, like, man, that was 9/11, 1970. Another 9/11. Oh, there's so many, dude. Just research it, bro. It's like our country did it on purpose. It's like when I say we, I'm like putting myself with my government, and I'm not. The government is over here, and like I'm like way over here, dude. Like I can't stand this government. I love my country. I can't stand this government. And the reason I can't stand the government is because of the people that have been popping up their disgusting heads while Trump has been in office. And you know what they say is that the best way to find the roaches in a house is to leave a piece of bread in the room, in the middle of the room, and then turn the lights on because they'll all come out. Well, what happened when Donald Trump was elected? He was that piece of bread.
Right.
He was that piece of bread. And then the moment the light switch turned on, you saw all the Democrat pieces in the deep swamp, in the government, who not just me, not just I have been talking about against, but countries for generations have been talking about. These deep-seated, crooked, disgusting, villainous worms in our government started finally, like worms, popping their head out of the mud after the rain. You know how the worms after the rain, the soil gets softer and they all start crawling to the surface?
Yep.
That's what the Democrats did, dude, during Trump. And that's how we found them. And now we see them. And all of these people are trying to bury themselves back underneath again using Biden. And it's working, man. It's freaking working. They used George Floyd to stir a racial divide because the Republicans and Democrats, if you remember, Tyler, you and I have talked about this, bro, in March and April and May. March, April, and May. Right up until George Floyd, I think it was May 5th, George Floyd. The Democrats and Republicans, blacks and whites, we were all getting together in the streets protesting the lockdowns and the masks mandates. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do.
want to show these clips, dude, because they're very, very important.
We acknowledge, and number one, that the virus is real and that people have suffered physically, and of course, a number of people have passed away from the virus. We don't deny that, and our hearts go out to those people and those families. However, on the flip side, I'm going to use a statement that I've been saying pretty much all week. The cure can't be worse than the disease, or the patient is definitely dead, if that's the case.
Protests also erupted in Wisconsin after Governor Tony Evers extended lockdown from April 24th till May 26th.
To show people that this is when all of this bullshit started. That the moment the powers that be, this deep state group of worms in the mud who've been trying to get Trump out of office for 3 years using every single way possible, underhandedly, to get him out. And by the way, we won't even get into it. Clinton is the worm master, bro. That's Hillary Clinton. And that's the Democrats in our government in the deep state, man. In a hard shell, in a heartbeat, man, in a nutshell. Because look what's happening to this program that we just discovered now, man. It's called Dominion. This internet software, this voting software called Democracy 5.5, whatever the hell that's supposed to, Democracy 5. For Democrats, you mean? Yeah, maybe. Democracy meaning for Democrats, and then the CY meaning like I don't know. I was gonna cuss. I'll hold it back.
You don't be doing plenty of that.
My point is that if all of these worms coming out of the mud, man, we finally know who they are, dude. And the thing is that pisses me off the most is that Democrats are falling for it because of the media.
Yeah, I think the only evidence we need for how much the Democratic Party cares about George Floyd is their nominee for president is Joe Biden, and his vice president is Kamala Harris. Joe Biden, 94 crime bill, and Kamala Harris, who put a lot of people on death row and hid evidence, made sure people would get executed for crimes they didn't even do to keep up her track record as DA. That's how she got in power.
And locked up millions of people for marijuana abuses. And what does that directly affect? What population does that directly affect?
Black people.
The minorities.
Right. Yeah. And in the state of California, by the way, which was one of the
We should just make a list. We should just make a list. You know, it's very simple because look, even like what I was saying earlier, in the early 2000s, where the fuck were the Democrats that were so hard on George Bush and the war in Iraq? Where were they then? Now,
where
are they?
Well, they're the same people who let Obama bomb 7 countries. They're the same people who called Tulsi Gabbard a toady for peace negotiations in Syria, they're the same people who don't care who's in power for their party, so long it's a Democrat who's in power. They don't care.
See, that brings us back to the media, man. The media. So when you say they,
yeah,
bro, it wasn't the voters who said Tulsi Gabbard was a toady. It wasn't the voters who said who supported Obama's drone strikes. It wasn't the voters. It was Congress by allowing him to do it with the NDAA and giving him ample powers, and that was Republicans and Democrats by
National Defense Authorization
And it was
Act.
the media, and there was the media promoting these disgusting, despicables in our government.
Right.
It wasn't the voters, because the voters just fall for it like dumb sheep. Seems like that's all the majority of Democrat voters are, because I personally voted for for Obama because I thought he was gonna be anti-war.
That's what he ran on.
That's what he ran on, you know. And like I've told you before, I'm an anti-war advocate, dude. Like I get in a lot of street fights. That's one thing, but I'm not gonna send innocent soldiers, men and women, who are most of the time children, like not children, but like 18, 19, 20 years old. I'm not gonna go send them to die in another country to defend an oil field, or to defend poppy fields, or to go and deliver a terrorist with one group to another terrorist cell in another group, to give them brownie points, or to gain brownie points for a CIA operation in 6 years from now. I don't want to put people like that. Put people through that shit, man. I want them here in our country. So any candidate that's anti-war, I go for, man. It was Henry. What was his name? Henry Kissinger. It was oh no, what was his name, dude? Dennis Kucinich. I loved the guy. He was a Democrat. Barry Goldwater. I loved him, man. You know, like these are all McGovern, Goldwater, Ross Perot.
Ross Perot,
Perot, man. What about
Bob Dole?
The gentleman who just passed away a couple years ago? He was a Republican. Pat Buchanan.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
there was
say
another
the
one.
sentence again.
It was not, but there was another one. There was another one though. There was Pat Buchanan. Like I'm writing a list of all these. They were really good. And so Pat Buchanan, he was another presidential candidate who was again anti-war. And immediately the pack that went after him, the lobby that went after him the hardest was Israel. And it wasn't because he was anti-Semite, it was because he was anti-war. And every single time a candidate has come about who was anti-war, the powers that be that we all talk about, like the powers that be, the elites, the ones at the top that no one knows about, the question mark, the man behind the curtain, powers that be is Israel. Flat out, it's Israel. They're the ones pulling the strings of the media. They're the ones that pull the strings for the military-industrial complex, for all the weapons built that we have. And now they have moved into the field. Well, not now. In the last 20 years, they've moved into the field of cyber intelligence. So Israel owns cyber intelligence, the media, and the military.
Yeah. So one thing that surprises me about the whole Israel connection to all those things, because there's a lot of evidence but what surprises me is during Trump's presidency, he brokered all these peace deals between Israel and these other nations in the Middle East. If Trump is doing that good work for Israel, why isn't he currently the standing nominee or the standing reelected with how it looks as of right now?
I'll tell you, because by him bringing peace to the Middle East, it diminishes the revenue of the military-industrial complex on that side of the world. So they hate that. They want conflict. You've heard this many times before. Conflict breeds money. That's all it is, dude. If you're in a depression, start a war. Look at what freaking Roosevelt did, man.
Right. Well, in
Look at
China
World
right
War
now,
II. Look what Roosevelt did. We were into depression in the 1929. All through the 30s, we were horrible until we finally entered World War II. And that gave us the best economic boom we've ever had in our entire history.
well,
That was because of the war.
Hitler's play
Huh?
too. Hitler's play to start World War II was to save their economy as well. The mark in Germany in the 30s was plummeting, and they were hyperinflating before they invaded Poland. So Hitler starting World War II was him trying to save his country economically. And World War
Well,
III,
I mean, but going back to your answer,
yeah.
your question, like the reason why Israel hasn't backed Trump. Well, okay, so Israel is backing Trump because they have to. All right. See now, do you see how sneaky these mothers are? Israel sees how this guy is doing so much for their country. And so on the world stage, they can't be like, oh, well, this guy is anti-Semite. Well, duh. That was what their argument always used to be against guys like Pat Buchanan or Ron Paul or Barry Goldwater. That's their argument, because immediately that shuts them down, and that immediately ends the argument, because those other candidates didn't have peace deals to brag about like Trump does. So of course they're going to do that. So what do? They go on the opposite end, under the table, and they get all of their actors under the table to attack them while they're on the surface smiling like, yeah, we love Trump. Trump is doing a lot of work for our country. Yeah, all right, for the Jewish people, he's great. But then underneath here, he's like, dude, another country you just brought peace with? How the hell are we going to keep fighting these wars? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
We're not going to need, next year, great. Now we're not going to need 500,000 tanks next year. Damn it.
Well,
dude, we got to get him out of office, dude.
So
move the fingers, move the strings.
So what's
It's
really
not hard, bro.
Yeah, it's not hard. But what's really scary about what you're stating right now is China has 30,000 troops on the Taiwan border, and they're ready to invade Taiwan. Also, similar to Hitler in World War II, the Chinese yuan is crashing. So is this the World War III play? Is China having some financial incentive to the Biden family being in play? Is China having possible involvement with this election financially? Is it their play to have a and the virus spreading across the world right now? Is this their play to invade Taiwan? And are those skirmishes on the Indian border more than just skirmishes that led to over 50 Indian soldiers dead? Is this the beginning of potentially World War III we're seeing?
No, I think this is the reason why China is even battling us right now is because we've talked about this before, where we're in the next space race, but instead of it being a space race, we're in the next race for 5G, which is the technology race. So if you want to consider it World War III, sure, yeah, consider it another war, another worldwide war. It is in that essence, in that sense of the term, World Wide Web. Because if they're going to be controlling 5G, they're going to be controlling the worldwide internet usage. And so because of their manipulation of the way they've developed 5G, from what I've seen and heard and read, is that they took it into the spectrum of more surveillance rather than ease of use or consumer friendlyism. So instead of the United States government going on their separate route of development, they chose to copy China's. And in doing so, China wanted to basically, how do I put it? They used it like a Trojan horse kind of thing. So they established 5G, they fought with us for it. Trump came in office, they immediately saw that he was a threat to their efforts of world dominion over the 5G network and its development. But then they said, okay, well, we got to put a stop to him. Let's inject a virus that'll spread, that we've been working on, that was instituted and paid for during the Democrat years by an unknown entity.
Well,
let's say.
NIH did it anyways. That's public.
Yeah, and And so, and let's inject it and then blame all of it on Trump. We already know that anything that happens during an election year is due to an election year, but people won't realize it. The American liberal people are pretty stupid nowadays. So we can probably convince them to vote for a dead monkey if we want to. Let's see which dead monkey on the Democrat ballot could we mold into our puppet?
Yeah, how about
Tulsi
the guy
Gabbard? No.
No.
Let's see. Warren? No,
No.
she's too money hungry. Let's see. Bernie Sanders? No, he's too smart and he's Jewish. We don't like Jewish people. Let's see.
Bernie Sanders, I think, is too clean. I think his record shows, and what the Democratic Party has done since Hillary Clinton is shows they want someone corruptible, dirty. Yeah, I mean,
No, that's a great way to put it, man. Bernie Sanders is too clean. The Democrat Party just wanted somebody dirty. That makes sense. I mean, honestly, bro, I'll be honest with you, it makes sense. The thing is, though, is that like it makes sense that they wanted to find somebody just as dirty as Trump, but they found somebody dirty in a different sense. Dirty. They found somebody dirty like corruptible dirty, instead of dirty that is going to be tough against the Democrat Party once they're in office, or once they're going to be tough against the Republican Party once they're in office. I'm referring to the Democrats. This is the same scenario where like the Democrats chose Biden. I'm sorry, China and their and his puppet masters chose Biden because he's dumb and easily corruptible. Just look at Bush, dude. Same exact thing. We want to reach across the aisle, right? Let's talk about both sides. Bush is the mirror spitting image of Joe Biden. They're both dumb as a bag of rocks. They both have people controlling them.
Right.
They both were bullied when they were kids.
Yep.
They are both rich kids.
Mm-hmm.
They both don't have their pulse on the American people. George Bush probably a little bit more so than the others, only because he was a Texan, and in Texas, you can't be Texan and not have your pulse on Texan life. So I mean, he had, you know what I mean? Like, so he kind of had that, even though everyone knew it was kind of like fake, like, oh yeah, look at him pretending to be a cowboy. You know what I mean? Like, he had his ranch and he had all of his Mexican cowboys doing all his work for him anyways. But there's a lot of very, very stark similarities between the two. And they're both different parties, extremely different parties. So that goes to show you that it's all about control, and who they want in office has nothing to do with how charismatic they are, how strong they are, how amazing they are, how American or constitutional they are. It's how easily they could be molded to fit the military industrial complex, big pharma, big agriculture, big media, in all of their sentiments, man. That pisses me off, because that means none of us matter at all.
Yeah.
Like, obviously we matter, but I'm saying none of us matter in an election. I was even saying it to my son in the voting center. I was saying, son, because he asked me, he's like, Daddy, Trump is gonna win, right? In front of all the other people standing in line.
Whoops.
I was like, yeah. Woo! I was wearing my red hat like this. Nobody saw that it's a Detroit Red Wings hat. But anyways, it's okay. But anyway, so I answered him saying, no, son, we don't actually choose the president. Other people choose the president. We don't choose who the president is. So us voting for the president doesn't matter. And so when I said that, my son was like, really? He was so shocked. He's like, really? Really? Like, he was so shocked. And I guarantee you, I just taught this little boy something that half the adults in that entire building didn't know.
Yeah, especially people voting on the other
That's
side
what I just said.
of the aisle. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's what I mean, is that all the people in line that were there to vote for president, I bet you none of them knew. None of them knew that, dude.
Right.
All we are there to do is suggest. We're not there to vote.
Yeah.
Our suggestion goes to other people who look at it and say, is this a good suggestion or is it a bad suggestion? I don't know. I'm going to put it in the bad suggestion pile. and then there's your vote. That's where your vote goes, man. In caucus systems, it's a little bit different. In caucus systems, it's much more hands-on, in person. I mean, if we could have a caucus system for the whole country, that would change this. That would change everything. I honestly think that would change all the voter fraud. It would help rectify it.
Yeah, so that's an important thing for people to understand is by.
Oh, really quick.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. One last thing about the voting center that I was talking to you about. When I walked in, I made it a purpose to yell out loud to the guy that I was talking to in a very loud Italian voice. As you can tell, I'm kind of a loud guy sometimes. Sorry about that. It's my microphone. It's not me. No. But when I walked in, I yelled in a very, okay, I'm not loud. I asked in a very boisterous way. That's the best way to put it. I'm very boisterous. I'm not loud. I'm just boisterous. When I speak, I reflect. It's because I have a lot of singing lung, I guess, what they call it. But so when I spoke to this guy when I walked in. I said, "Excuse me, sir, do I need," and by the way, I'm surrounded by like hundreds of people in lines, okay, to get in. And it's quiet because everyone there is wearing masks and everyone there is being antisocial, just like how the Los Angeles and California government leaders want it. No one's speaking to each other. Everyone in their little box, in their little circle, in their, you know what I mean?
Stay
like
6 feet apart.
Like moron robots.
Right.
6 feet apart. So everyone's quiet. And so I purposely go, "Sir, how are you this evening? I'm here to vote. Do I need anything except my identification to vote?" He said, no, and you don't even need that. And I said, "What do you mean? I don't need identification to vote? How am I going to prove who I am so that I can vote and legally cast my vote?" "Oh, well, no, you just go stand in the lines over there, sir. Please lower your voice." "Okay, thank you very much." I walked over to the line.
Uh-huh.
I did that on purpose to prove a point, because I bet you no one in there had identification. They just walked in, illegals voting. Who gives a shit, dude?
Well, you told me actually in 2011 that the Democratic Party was sending out letters in Spanish to people in Los Angeles who has a very high not legal population.
What I did tell you was that back then they were sending out mailers to Hispanic households, reminding them to go vote.
Okay.
It didn't say you can come vote with no ID. It didn't say anything like that. Like,
all right, well, I'll
come vote
edit
legally and nothing like that. It just said, don't forget, vote on election day. And one of the people in particular that I knew this was sent to, I know that she didn't have papers. She was undocumented, and they had her address and her full name on the mailer. I still have it, by the way. I still have it saved. All this time, I saved it on purpose. It had everything on there that would be sent to a typical voter, reminding her, an undocumented immigrant, to go vote in the next election.
Who's not registered to vote.
Who's not registered to vote, nor has an identification to prove at the election booth. So she could have walked right into a voting booth and voted, and no one would have known.
Yeah, there's another piece of shady evidence that happened. Pennsylvania this year was the first year they had mail-in votes. And actually in their guidelines for voting, in their rules that they've established, you don't need a postmark date on your ballot when you mail it in. So there's a lot of people who might still be sending in their votes for.
Well, I have four mail-in ballots right here, all with my name but spelled different ways. Maybe what I should do is just send them all in now. They'll still count them.
I don't know what the rules are for.
I mean, I should just photocopy them like 1,000,000 times. That way Trump will win in Los Angeles County. That would be so cool. Don't you think?
Right.
Wow, man. Trump, imagine the headlines. Trump wins Los Angeles County by a 1 million vote majority.
Well, you wouldn't be alone in voting multiple times. Actually, on social media, there was some a Biden voter who openly admitted that they voted 29 times for Joe Biden. And I don't know
You know,
how
it's
many
frustrating
people.
when I hear the news say, and they always, you know, once you get wise enough and old enough, Tyler, you start realizing that wordplay is a lot easier to catch. Once you get older, you start actually, I guess it really doesn't matter whether you get older or not. It's just once you get more intelligent, you actually start reading books and you start speaking to people more. You start to learn how to catch bullshit so much faster.
Right.
So when you hear the news say something like over and over again, to the extent of, oh, well, there has been no widespread voter fraud.
Yeah,
Widespread voter fraud. Widespread voter fraud. There's no widespread voter fraud. Oh, and there hasn't been any kind of evidence of widespread voter fraud. Or, you know, have you had any proof of widespread voter? Like, you mother. Does it take widespread voter fraud to even count it as voter fraud? You dip idiot. Like, all these people are the same.
And
they think that we're dumb. And I even caught one lady on the news the other day, just yesterday. She said, have you found any proof of voter fraud? I mean, widespread voter fraud? She actually caught herself and went back.
Nice.
Idiot. Like, if it was me she was interviewing, I would have been like, you moron. You even know what you just did. Walk away, idiot. Walk away, you idiot. I've actually caught. Okay, so I used to live in Panorama City, and there's an infamous intersection there that's notorious for hit and runs and drunk driving. And so
I know the intersection.
You do?
I think I do. It's the one where it goes into like two streets into like one turn thing.
Oh yeah, you know it. Holy crap! How did you know that? That was, anyways. It was on the news. So when I saw it on the news, I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" I went downstairs, and they were all downstairs, down at the bottom of my building. And so I walked to the store, to Walmart, and I came back. I walked up to two of the news people who were talking, and there were two different news agencies. One was NBC, and one was CBS, I think. I think it was CBS. No, it wasn't CBS.
The
CBS,
two networks.
I would have. No. It was NBC. It was NBC and a Spanish one, I think. Anyways, so I walked up to the NBC guy. I'm like, man, it was awesome, dude. I'm like, you know, you're a fraud and a crook, you disgusting piece of shit. How do you even consider yourself part of the media? And he looked at me. He's like, because I work there. I said, and you're proud of yourself? He said, yeah. I said, why are you proud of yourself for lying to the American people? So, I'm not lying to the American people. What kind of beef do you have? I'm like, I have beef with people who are like you, because you're the reason why our country and the kids that we have right now are going to be growing up into a hellhole. You're the reason our country is being destroyed. And he said, okay, just like that. Like as if he was callous to it.
Yeah.
Like as if he, I don't want to say doesn't care, but as if he was like, he's already been told so many times that he's part of the problem that he's just like endorsing it, like, or embracing it almost. And you know what? And that's what a lot of bad guys do when they're involved in a group for so long that they were pushed into. I mean, look at the Nazis, man. A lot of them were pushed into being the soldiers that they didn't want to be. Actually, a lot of interviews that come out where they just, man, I mean, look at Schindler's List, dude. Like there's movies out there of soldiers that were pushed into it that didn't want to be there. And I don't know, man. I think it's the same. I think it's the same. I think a lot of these people, they're already in this monster that controls them and controls their paychecks and controls their wallet and controls their livelihoods, that they can't say anything about it. And the more they don't say anything about it, the more they kind of like, if you ever saw Pirates of the Caribbean, that scene where his dad is like welded into the ship. He's like welded, like is a piece of wood welded into the ship. That's what media, interviewers, journalists, writers, cameramen, all end up being. They end
Okay.
up being that melded, disgusting, rotted trash that is just making the whole ship sink.
So
I mean, what an analogy is that? You know, like they're not helping anything. They're not even helping themselves. I mean, they're helping themselves in getting a paycheck.
Okay, so I have to. There's a lot to unpack there, and so full disclosure,
No, but see, this is the kind of debate and discussion people should be having. Nobody
Yeah,
wants to
definitely.
have a 30-second soundbite, which is what they force all the debates to go through. You know, even Trump said that, dude. He's like, these debates, they're just a game. They're just a sideshow. Who the heck? He even said in an interview, he said, who the hell can answer an important question like that in 30 seconds?
He did.
Trump said that. That is so on point, man.
And Trump also wisely wanted to have a Joe Rogan debate, and Joe Biden never even acknowledged it. But I do want to take a moment to unpack what your statement was about the media a little bit, because I actually, full disclosure, I've spent my career in television, and I've been wanting to be a part of the television industry since high school. When I was in high school, as part of their TV program. Then I went to Ohlone College. It was a great TV JC. Then I went to Cal State Northridge and a fantastic television program, because I wanted to be behind the camera. I didn't want to do it for any sort of manipulation of people's ideologies or anything like that. I just enjoy the process. And I would say the majority of people who work in television are there because they enjoy the process, not because they're pursuing power or end up stuck because of any sort of pressure from any sort of money. But what I will say is, in order to get to a big market like Los Angeles or San Francisco, New York, Chicago, you have to kiss some butts. Because when you get out of college, and if you're pursuing work as a broadcaster, especially in front of the camera, you don't go straight from college to working in Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, any of those big markets. You have to go to like Yakima, Washington, and work your way up markets to get there. And it's anywhere between 5, 10, and 15 years of working your way up markets to get to work in these big markets like LA. So if you are talking to a reporter in LA, they've been up the market chain. And in order for them to get to that, they've had to concede a lot of their pride, because someone who makes it all the way to LA in terms of being in front of the camera, especially, isn't like Ben Swan, who decides to stand up for something. Because you saw what happened to Ben Swan, is he had Reality Check. It was one of the greatest news segments I've ever seen consistently. Right. But you saw what happened to him. He spoke out against and had some really great programming, super valuable stuff, and all of a sudden he's out of a job. So that story of Ben Swan is something that's not being told anymore, but it's something that happens every day.
I'd like to investigate that, by the way. That's something that I would really like to look into, man.
Yeah, and full disclosure too, I'm transitioned out of specifically working in television stations to now work at a internet-based television company, because that's where everything is heading. Is like you said, with the 5G, everything's going towards the internet, and everyone in television knows it, and it's a big power grab that the whole world is in the middle of right now.
Power grab for what?
Power. So
no power grab in what industry? In the television industry?
Yes. So what's happening right now with, as you've said, with 5G, is everything is moving from your TV screen onto your phone, and the television industry is well aware of that. And television is working in cahoots with big tech to try and integrate these things, because people know that a YouTube video gets at times 10 times the amount of audience even the most watched cable news opinion piece would ever get, because it's easy. It doesn't have the time restrictions that broadcast linear television has, and the whole world knows that what people care about is audience. What's going to get the most audience? So what's happening right now, you see it happening at the same time as big tech starting to kind of shift audience around with the left-right paradigm of censorship of one opinion versus the other. We're going to see it in the next 5 to 10 years of television to move from the linear television on your set top. You have to tune in at 5:30 to watch Tucker Carlson or whenever he airs, to like, this is the only option you have for your views. And when that integration finally happens, we're not going to see the freedom of speech we all enjoyed so much these past 10 years on the likes of YouTube. And that's a scary thing.
Well, on that note, we'll leave everybody to their thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Enjoy us while you can on YouTube. Yeah, we've put in like 3 hours.
Yeah, man. I gotta get off because my phone's about to die.
Okay, cool deal.
all.
No, it's a good sign. I'll so for you at home, subscribe, and we'll post links in the description below. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you guys on our next episode.